Welcome to Session 4 of the FSS Window Pro Tips and Tricks. The purpose of this session is to show you a few examples of the specialty windows we offer in the app to help you capture measurements even faster. Our agenda today is to review arch windows, bow and bay windows, and triangle windows. Let's begin with the elongated arch window above these front doors. Within the app, select the window input form, Specialty Windows, then select the elongated arch. It's important to note that for this type of window, a tape measure will be required to find the center of the arch. When we look at the elongated arch, we can see that we have dimensions L and R, the left and right height of the legs. We also have our total height and the width at the bottom. For a window like this, you will most likely want 3 widths instead of just 1. So you will enter additional custom dimensions for the additional widths, middle and top. Now you can input your dimensions directly into the specialty window. When inputting your measurement from the tape measure, we have provided a fraction input button at the top of the screen. This allows you to easily input your measurement without any typos. When you are required to quickly and accurately find the center of any span, as is required on arches, we recommend that you purchase and use a Lufkin self-centering tape measure. This tape measure removes any possible error on the user's side from finding, solving for, or calculating the center of a measured distance. As you can see here, the Lufkin is shown at the bottom with a regular tape measure shown on the top. The red dimensions on the tape are the center measurement for the span. So for an arch, you simply measure the bottom width and read the red dimension. If it says 12 3/8 inches, then you know to put your laser device exactly at the 12 3/8 inches mark on the tape and shoot the vertical height dimension H. Let's look at another example with this living room. It has 6 windows with some half-arched windows at the top. Now there are many ways you could record this. Our top 2 recommendations are either using the elongated quarter arch from the Specialty Windows section, or the single window selection. Let's explore the elongated quarter arch method. First, we name our windows A, B, C through F. The elongated quarter arch would capture windows A and C. In this example, I've opened the elongated quarter arch in my specialty window. I have named it Living Room A and C to record that these arches are going to be used for windows A and C. Now, let's map the dimensions. B1 would be right here. B2 would be over here on the side. H1 and H2 are straightforward. That's my H1, that's my H2. Next, we find the center mark, and then we shoot a distance to the top that is going to be my X1. And again, we find the center over here. We shoot it to the top. That will be my X2 dimension. Next, we record our widths. We have the bottom width already defined in the app, but we want additional widths, so I would insert 2 additional width measurements, one here and one over here. This is another great example of the app's flexibility. You're not limited to the dimensions that are pre-populated on the arch. You can input custom dimensions that you require to fit the windows you are measuring. Another possible way to solve or record this living room would be to use a single window. When we look at window A, we would have our left height, our middle height, and our right height. And then we would have the middle width and our bottom width. Then we could use our notes to clarify that there's a curve between these 3 dimensions for the heights. Always be sure to snap a picture and add it to the room as well. Next, we will look at a perfect arch. First, we apply our standard window naming to this room. We would name our windows A, B, and C. I did the dual doors as D because I would do an outside mount that comes down over it, and these would be E and F. For my window A, I would come in and use the perfect arch window type, and then window B through window F would use single windows. Moving on to the bay and bow windows. Here is a room where we can use the bay window type. For regular window treatments, such as blinds, roller shades, or honeycombs, it would be best to use a multi-window input. But if you are trying to capture drapery measurements with a rod that connects around the room, then you are focused on capturing the physical wall dimensions more than the window measurements. To do this within the app, it's best to use the specialty window and the bay window type. When we look at this example, we see our dimension A would be here. Next, we capture our dimension B, followed by dimension C. Now, we have no need to capture E or F, but perhaps we want to capture D. You would put your laser here and shoot across the whole section of the room to capture D. Again, we didn't actually capture window dimensions in this. This is more about the construction of the room and the walls, if you need to have consideration for anything when doing draperies or outside mount treatments. When that is done, you transition and use one of the other input screens to do all your window measurements. In this case, I would use single windows. I would capture my window A. I put the doors as B, and then this window as C. For window B, we decided to do one curtain rod above the door. In the bay window, we captured dimension B. That was the wall width. I could use that here, or I could also recreate it and input a custom dimension. We also need some additional custom dimensions. One dimension from the curtain rod length, and one dimension from the curtain rod distance to the floor. Next, we will cover triangle windows. Who thought we could use trigonometry after school? When we look at a right triangle, there is a side that is called A side that is called B, and this side which is the hypotenuse. We can abbreviate hype for short. As always, the first objective when entering a room is to orient ourselves and name the windows. So this will be window A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. I will do an outside mount for these windows D and for G. Looking at my window A, I have a left height, then I find the center point to capture a center height and then a right height. Those dimensions clearly show that there's an angle. I recommend for triangles to record the hypotenuse as a custom dimension. When I do this window, I will insert a custom row and call it hypotenuse, then I'll just add one additional measurement. Now any window that I see with a hypotenuse measurement, I'll always know that was a triangle window, and then I'll have all my measurements to communicate with my vendor and/or installers. For this example, we would have the bottom width, a middle width, and no top width due to the angle. Our final example is a triangle window that doesn't have a leg. First, let's name our windows. Now, if we look at window C, we can copy the previous example. It has a leg on the left. We find the left height, figure out the center height, find the right height, and then the hypotenuse. Window B does not have that leg portion. So we will find our center, take the center height and the right height, capture the hypotenuse and bottom width. In my notes, I comment that window B is a right triangle between the dimensions we captured, including the hypotenuse. With the notes and our pictures, we will have all the information we need to quote and communicate with our vendors and/or installers. In summary, we reviewed how to best use the app for specialty windows such as arches, bay and bow windows, and triangle windows. Thank you for your time. I hope you found these tips and tricks helpful. Please continue with Lesson 5 if you want to see more tips and tricks.